Death. Noun. The action or fact of dying or being killed. The end of the life of a person or organism. The Google page is telling me that one of the synonyms is the legendary Starfy franchise. The legendary Starfy, known as Densetsu no Starfy in Japan, is a video game franchise centered around the titular protagonist Starfy, who isn't a starfish as you'd expect, from the Puff Top Kingdom, a kingdom in the sky which he's the prince of. The legendary Starfy games are developed by Tosei, also known as who? Yeah, Tosei has actually developed games published by different companies, such as Nintendo and Square Enix, and though they rarely have their name on the box, sometimes with good reason. I mean, I wouldn't want developed Shrek Hassle at the Castle on my resume. The legendary Starfy franchise is confirmed to be one of the franchises to be developed by them. The legendary Starfy has received 5 titles, but only one of which actually released outside of Japan, the 5th and final one, which is the one I'll be covering. I am aware that I am missing out on stuff from the first 4 titles, such as recurring characters, references, and such, but I can't read Japanese, so screw it. The legendary Starfy was released on July 10th, 2008 in Japan, June 8th, 2009 in North America, and October 10th, 2009 in Australia. This game didn't sell very well. The legendary Starfy sold almost 1,300,000 copies in Japan by the end of 2008, and while it did sell well during the week of its release in North America, that's about it. For comparison, Kirby Squeak Squad sold almost 8 times more copies than the legendary Starfy in Japan. Yes, I'm comparing one cute mascot-like character, probably made for children, with another cute mascot-like character, probably made for children. The legendary Starfy starts in the kingdom of Puff Top, where Starfy's just sleeping, until a rabbit crashes through his roof, being chased by a band of what I assume to be kids dressed in crappy Halloween costumes, trying to capture the rabbit. Great way to wake up. Starfy's clearly pissed because he couldn't get a few more hours in, so he kicks their asses as the rabbit creature runs away. Starfy thinks it's a good idea to help the stranger that fell through his roof, and joined by his reluctant best friend Mo, a clam, they jump into the ocean below and start their journey. We find out that the rabbit's name is Bunston and he's got amnesia, and the ability to fuse with Starfy and transform into things. Okay. Initially, he's not very trusting of Starfy and Mo, believing them to be allied with a crappy costume trio, and he runs away, but very quickly after learns that they're not. A shard that Starfy and Mo found apparently helped Bunston remember that he was from a planet called Banera, and that a bunch of goons attacked his home planet, so the three decide to find all the shards to help Bunston remember what the fuck anything is. We're dropped into the first level, and you're given control of Starfy. The legendary Starfy is unique among platformers in that it is primarily based on underwater gameplay, so that means that the swimming mechanics are better than most platforming games, where the water levels don't feel like a priority. Starfy is able to swim faster by holding B, but he also has land-based movement options. Walking and jumping are quite obvious ones. Starfy is also able to run like he's evading the IRS, crouch, and drag his face across the floor, which definitely looks like it hurts. If he sits there long enough, he just kinda stares. Starfy's main offensive option is the Star Spin, where, of course, Starfy spins. The Star Spin usually breaks blocks rather easily and defeats most enemies in one hit, but if you spin too much in rapid succession, Starfy gets dizzy. Starfy unlocks more moves as the game progresses, such as gliding, double jump, and upgrades to a Star Spin, allowing for faster directional movement and fighting against strong water currents. The legendary Starfy is a standard go from point A to point B platformer. Each level is built rather linearly, with the levels utilizing Starfy's skill set. There are 8 normal worlds total, and each world has its own gimmick, such as World 2, Hacha Springs, having geysers that shoot Starfy up, as well as big boulders that can be pushed, and World 4, Sogwood Forest, having poison, giant dewdrops that can be swam in, and foggy blocks that can only be destroyed by glowing mushrooms. Every world has 4 standard levels and 3 extra levels, which can be unlocked by finding secret doors in the standard levels, with one in each level that is not the first one. To unlock the extra levels, you have to do a minigame of sorts. These mini-games are all very different, from racing to juggling to pushing a fat fucking fish. There's a lot. Each level also has up to 2 treasure chests. Treasure chests are hidden within levels, sometimes behind puzzles, other times behind platforming sections. Unlike the treasure chests in a certain other platformer DS game, these ones are a lot more forgiving in that they don't require you to guess between a few different paths, and are a lot easier to find thanks to the bottom screen. Well, I guess I have to talk about the bottom screen now. Because it's a DS game, the bottom screen has to be used in some way. Dialogue appears here whenever that happens, but there are also helpful features too. There's Mermaid Gossip, which just tells you things that are obvious. Old Man Lobber keeps track of your statistics. Bunston just keeps track of your shards, and Mo helps detect treasure and secret doors. There's also a cloud thing in World 6, but you're forced to use it in certain segments and can't take it anywhere else, so I don't really count it. Mo is the only useful one, and I've literally never switched off Mo, aside from when the game forces you to. Starfy finds many pearls scattered across levels, which are like coins in Mario games, except they're not useless. Starfy can initially take 5 hits before dying, but collecting 5 pearls restores 1 heart, and pearls are everywhere, so death is a rare occurrence. Starfy's vitality can be increased by finding heart gems in blue chests, which are usually in bonus stages, and 3 heart gems give Starfy 2 more hearts. There are small pearls which have the value of 1 pearl, and big pearls which have the value of 5 pearls. Pearls can also be used to purchase things, but we'll get to that later. I'm making an assumption here since I haven't played any of the other titles, but the main gimmick of this game is with Bunston. Bunston, as I said earlier, can fuse with Starfy and transform. Bunston has 4 transformations: the Monstar, which breathes fire, the Starpedo, which does this, the Roostar, which lets out large cries to defeat enemies, and the Starfright, which can turn invisible and also drop what I assume to be ghost bombs. You can unlock them by finding what I assume to be pearls in certain levels. You'll know when you can transform into them when Bunston is in the room with a thought bubble with one of the transformations in them, and they disappear once you exit that room. They're usually mandatory in that room, and the land-based ones, the Monstar and Roostar, are quite annoying to control. They're slow to start running, and their jumping is bad, which doesn't help the fact that there's segments where you have to platform with them. The most fun one to use is the Starfright, and that's because it's faster than almost all of them, and you can move wherever you want, and you can bomb everything. They get upgrades later in the game, usually in the bonus levels, which come in the form of another pearl, and it buffs their abilities, which makes the Roostar somewhat tolerable by giving it a Yoshi-like flutter jump. There's a boss in each world that usually appears earlier in the act, such as Glug Glug Lagoon's boss, Big Squiddy, appearing in the first level of the game. The bosses are usually pushovers with a few exceptions, though they're not hard either. As I mentioned earlier, there's dialogue in this game. I haven't actually played nor heard of an early 2D platformer with as much dialogue as the legendary Starfy. Since our star of the show is unable to speak, instead making cute sounds, most of the talking in this game will be done by Bunston, Mo, and whichever character is present in that world. There's usually 1 or 2 major characters in a world, with some minor ones too, such as the Squirts and Old Man Lobber in Hotcha Springs. The dialogue is almost always lighthearted with jokes thrown in, fitting the legendary Starfy's plush-like dialogue sprites. The characters in the legendary Starfy are all filled with personality, including the recurring characters and the terrible trio of Snips, Papes, and Ronk, the Halloween kids I mentioned at the start, being basically the Team Rocket of this game. Also, haha, you get the joke in their names, it's Snips, Papes, and Ronk, as in scissors, paper, and rock, and their final fight is a game of rock, paper, scissors. The legendary Starfy runs on the Nintendo DS, but it still looks really good. The game blends standard sprite art with 3D models in a way that doesn't make it look forced. This is most notable with the backgrounds and some of the bosses. I really like the look of the water in this game, and the 3D backgrounds just make it look a lot better. The legendary Starfy's OST is nice, but nothing really stands out. It's got a lot of tracks like the standard Happy World 1 track, Relaxing Forest track, the not actually the main villain track that's really fucking good, and the menacing main big bad track. It's not bad by any means, it's really good, but it's not anything special. After gathering all the shards and slowly restoring Bunston's memory, it is revealed that his home planet, Banera, was attacked by the goons so that their leader, Mashtooth, can absorb the Banerans' power of being able to transform. The Banerans try to protect their prince, Bunston, by telling him to run, but the terrible trio shoot down his ship, causing him to fall and crash through Starfy's roof. It is then revealed that the shards that Starfy has been collecting are actually the pieces to Bunston's ship, and using said ship, they fly to Banera to stop Mashtooth. They arrive on Banera, and Mashtooth has already absorbed the power of every Baneran except for Bunston. Starfy and Bunston engage in a battle with Mashtooth, but are defeated. Cue Power of Friendship trope, Starfy is healed, and the real battle begins and it's over. But wait, it's not actually over. Mashtooth eats Bunston, transforming into Mega Mashtooth. Well, I guess Mega Mashtooth predicted Mega Rayquaza. Both eat something to transform into a stronger form, and both get banned from the Uber tier. All hope is lost until the terrible trio betray Mashtooth and get him to spit out Bunston as Starfy goes into space to fight Mega Mashtooth. The final battle happens, Starfy wins, order is restored to Banera, everything is good, the end. I've been avoiding bringing this up throughout the video, but fuck it, I'll do it now. The legendary Starfy bears a striking resemblance to Kirby games. Both feature a small, cute main protagonist that can't speak and loves sleeping, trying to stop a world-destroying force using its signature move. Starfy collects shards much like Kirby in Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards. There's hidden treasures in levels behind platforming or puzzles much like Squeak Squad. The plot is relatively lighthearted, there's cutesy charm everywhere, and just like Kirby games, it's piss fucking easy. The legendary Starfy was definitely not made to be hard. Starfy can heal off any damage he takes just by collecting pearls or saving at a save point scattered across the level, and it's not like the enemies pose much of a threat. I found that the legendary Starfy starts off strong, but feels a little less fun from World 3 Chili Dip Cove to World 5 Blizzum Grotto, and picks right back up in the next world, Skydye Heights. The gimmicks in those worlds weren't really fun. The snow in Chili Dip Cove was really damn slow, and the rising water levels and minecart segments in Blizzum Grotto were more frustrating than anything. The controls in the legendary Starfy take some time to get used to. I found myself struggling a bit with the control scheme of the game, where I have to switch between the turbo swimming underwater, which uses the B button, and the Y button, which has Starfy run, and then using the X button for entering doors and interacting with objects or characters. The Star Spin shares a button with running, though that's not too annoying as Mario games do that too with power-ups. I find that the cooldown on Starfy's spin attack is quite annoying. Spinning 3 times in rapid succession makes Starfy dizzy for a short period of time. Thing is, the game isn't very forgiving when it comes to those 3 spins. They could be spread out a little bit and Starfy would still get dizzy, and if you're using the Superstar Spin to clear a puzzle and you get dizzy, you usually have to do it all over again. The legendary Starfy is filled with extra content. I already mentioned the extra levels, but there's 2 extra worlds that can be unlocked after finishing the main story, including one where you play as Starfy's sister, Starly, who has a slightly different moveset. I didn't finish these because I already spent about a week just playing the legendary Starfy, collecting every treasure chest, and then there's more. There's clothes that you can find in treasures and buy, which lets you dress up Starfy. Some of these are really cute, and some of these are, There's a whole screen of extras, such as the Mo Show, which is a talk show hosted by Mo, where he interviews some of the characters that Starfy comes across on his journey. There's mini-games that use the touchscreen, and some of them have you compete with 3 other differently colored Starfys, again feeling more like Kirby. I haven't unlocked them all, I'm guessing there's 2 in the extra world, but I'll talk about the ones I have unlocked. Fishing Derby has you compete to fish up as many fish as possible, with your fishing line being controlled by the touchscreen. Coin Slinger has you try to hit as many coins of your color as you can, with the special looking coins alternating in colors but rewarding more points. Dumpling Master has you cook up takoyaki in a Cooking Mama like minigame sequence. Cook as many as you can before the timer runs out to feed Mo. The controls are a little finicky, especially with Dumpling Master, but they're otherwise fun games. There's a boss rush mode, a shop to buy more outfits for Starfy, a music player, a secret boss, there's collectible toys that you can get from a gashapon machine. Trying to 100% complete this game can take quite a while, and that's saying something about a 2D platformer released on the DS in 2008. It's quite sad to see Starfy die out. It had a lot of potential, and now people outside of the few who play this game really only see him as that useless assist trophy from Smash, and that's quite rare considering most people don't even play with items. Overall, I find that the legendary Starfy is a fun experience, with really funny writing, fun gameplay, a great soundtrack, and lovable characters. I find that it doesn't really take a unique spin on the genre, aside from the underwater segments being more prevalent than in other platformers. Though I'd say it's definitely worth playing if you have a little free time and you're itching for a lighthearted game that will definitely make you mad sometimes when you screw up. Well, making this video sure has given me a better understanding of death. I think I might just try it out. This isn't as fun as I thought it would be.